In the meantime, preparations for hosting NATO, a 28-country military alliance summit, is no small order. Street barricades are being erected, public transportation slowed or even canceled, a large no-fly zone above the city, and in general, a hope for peace, a point that the police are efforting.
Our ultimate goal is that it will be a non-event, it'll be a boring event that it'll be a non-event, it'll be a boring event, that there won't be anything happening. That means everything's going smooth.
Hosting the NATO summit is risky business. If protesters get ugly, they become the story, and the city may take another black eye, like in 1968. But if all goes well, then President Barack Obama's home city will come out looking like a picture postcard for large-scale international events. At this point, only time will decide.
Our ultimate goal is that it will be a non-event, it'll be a boring event, that there won't be anything happening. That means everything's going smooth.
So now we are trapped in the street. Can we get off the street, please?
Keep shit going across the river. I just got the phone with them.
Okay, let's go. They're coming this way. They're right there.
Coming this way.
So if we hold right here, we can jump in.
Let him go! Let him go! I got you. Don't let him arrest him! Come on, it's all of us. Don't let him arrest him! Guys, get over here! Hold the council back! Hold the council back! Get him off now! Back off!
Don't push me! That's assault! Don't push me! That's assault! That's assault, man! Don't assault me!
Back up, sir! Sir, back up! Assault! Back up, sir! Sir, back up! Right here, man! Back up, sir! Sir, back up! Back up, sir! Sir, back up! Back up, sir! Back up! I'm trying! Back up! Back up, sir! Sir, back up! Sir, back up!
Welcome to Global Government News. Today is Monday, May 21st, 2012, and I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.com, and on YouTube my channels are ddarko2012, and my backup channel is ddarko2013. I'm not sure if you guys noticed when I pointed out during this video when they were tearing down the flag, what was it besides the NATO's, basically their swastika symbol, was this, the fidelity in the background. You can see it in the background. So, I mean, these people are tearing down a banner that says, NATO, with a big swastika on it saying peace and security, that's our mission. So it is a very over-referenced book and movie, 1984, but that really, kind of portrays it well. It should be blatantly obvious, right, that this organization is not set up to carry out, to force or allow or maintain peace and security in the world. It's to conquer the world, one sovereign nation at a time. I mean, how many stories you hear of people that are actually for all this stuff that are there supporting this, right? How many people are actually there saying, yeah, all right, NATO, go NATO, yeah, all right, we love this last war in Afghanistan, it was a great one. Well, you don't see that many, that's my point. So, but I will get into a story where about the veterans that threw their medals, basically, whatever, I don't know where they threw them, but they basically got rid of them in protest, whatever the wars that they were fighting in. And I'll go through a comment of a a Vietnam veteran or something like that. It was in 20 years, and he's basically, he supports all of it. He supports all of it. He can't just let his ego go and say, I was wrong. I was wrong. I was brought up and brainwashed my entire life to say, you know what, this country is great. It's all about freedom, and if I join in the military, I'm going to fight for freedom. Well, because that's what we're hit over the head constantly, right, with that, right? And then when you go to boot camp and you come back from personal experience, everyone's all, all up on you, right? Good for you, good for you, good for you, great for you, you're so good, you're so patriotic, right? Well, that's why you kept doing it, And then, of course, there's a little incentive called desertion in that, or if you don't do it at a certain point when you're realizing that it's wrong, well, there's guys that are doing that and they can't even come back in the United States. Yet you got all these crap bags here in the country that are still here. All right, so I'm ready to get going here. That's the little that banner once more was what Organization for the Atlantic Nord. It was basically OTAN. So you saw NATO and you saw it backwards. I was like, what the hell is that? And it says OTAN, which is basically in France. And of course, you have right in the background as all this is going on, just peaceful protesting of this military police force. Is what you see Fidelity. With the pyramid and the capstone, that's the elites, and that's, of course, the light of Lucifer, or Osiris, basically the doctrine. And this is their, speaking of doublespeak, Fidelity Investments, right? Fidelity is all about what? About staying true to, a partner, right? If you're a business partner, we're going to stay true to you and honest, and we're not going to go to any outside partners. Well, most of these are all in bed with the same scams and stuff like that, right? So they're not. There's not fidelity in that relationship. The CEOs and all that usually will, when they scam all of their clients or some clients out, the people at the top usually get paid extra for it, a bonus. So, and then you have companies like Prudential, right, with a big iceberg hanging out of the water, like treacherous, right? And what does prudent mean? Well, wise or judicious in practical affairs, discreet, right? So it's very discreet to have an iceberg out of the water, right? You're going to hit it. In other words, no risk. As this one says, tropical with icebergs. So it's all doublespeak, the Federal Reserve, not federal at all. A reserve, well, they're not like holding a reserve of gold or anything. So these groups and entities that do carry out all these schemes, these frauds on all these people, they need to protect their interests, right? They need to protect the politicians, the traitor scumbags that sit there and sell your future out, and they need to protect them. And so the police, the go-betweens, the black and white checkerboards, probably many of them are Masons with their little Luciferian stars, are going to protect that order because they are a fraternal order of police. So they came out doing what the Chicago police do well. If you've ever walked across that bridge, I've been actually tracked right there. Last time I was there, I've never been there again, just looking at a little thing right there, and had a homeless guy come right up to me, past all these different people, hundreds of people coming right up to us and ask us for change. And that was after being tracked around. I've already told this story, being tracked from the Shed Aquarium Museum. Started right there, and then it just, even guys with like military clothes, like a reservists and that, just tracking us, following us around, keeping tabs, and they would change. They would change as we go through little different areas of the city. You get a new little rover. I call them like a roving snoop, basically. And there's cameras hanging off all those private buildings to protect their interests. So the NATO summit will come and go, but Mayor Rahm Emanuel has authorized a new normal of militarized social control in Chicago. So this is the London Guardian that's recognizing this. So it says here, courtesy of Emmanuel, several months ago began implementing new draconian anti-protest measures. Chicago has gone on security lockdown starting early Friday. It says here that the police began shutting down, prohibiting cars, bikes, and pedestrians miles and miles of highways and roads in the heart of Chicago to create a security perimeter around the downtown and McCormick Place. And the McCormick Place is huge, where the NATO summit is being held. Another interesting note, last time we were there, it was the McCormick Place. I remember they had this whole new section on the western end of the Loop or whatever it is, the Stevenson, and that place, it really is huge, but they have a whole new section, and it's weird because we couldn't get out of there. It's like we were trying to go around it, and it was a complex, and I was like, man, this place looks perfect for like a centralized location for like FEMA or Homeland Security. I mean, it was very, very, just the structure and the layout was for a federal, a very federalized government entity of all of them to be operating out of. And it was funny because then they had the White House's Secret Service and everything working right out of there. I didn't even know that until now. So, all right, so I mentioned this on Friday about how this is going to happen, this false flag, whatever, basically busting people, calling them anarchist, some kind of act of terror, right? That doesn't actually happen. Basically a sting operation. Well, it happened, and they were anarchists. It was a sting operation. It was right before the thing even started, the NATO summit, and it was used to what? Even though the FBI said there was no credible threat. Well, they were already. He must have said that after they had already arrested these guys or been working on the sting operation, the feds. So he lied. There was a threat, but they did that so that they can make it seem like they actually, they actually are fighting this war on terror that doesn't exist except for the terror that's carried out by the state. So it legitimized everything that they did because they caught these guys for what? Making beer. So police raid Chicago apartment, seize beer making equipment. This is the official original story that came out. It says here, Darren Anusek said he walked to Chicago from Philadelphia to participate in Occupy protests only to be seized by police in a raid on an apartment. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want to keep moving here, but it's all over there. You can check it out. Links will be posted. I'm sure most of you already are aware or read this. Chicago police accused of planting evidence in Molotov cocktail plot. Well, they did. They actually gave them all the materials for a Molotov cocktail and then called that having explosive materials for terrorist activity. Remember, I even used the word entrapping, and that's exactly what they did. So terrorism plot or entrapment, the case of NATO 3s. This is from Truthout. So then to Chicagoist, more details on alleged terror plot, 2 more suspects in custody. So this is how this article or headline should be tagged. Police clash with protesters at the end of anti-NATO protests to make themselves feel like they're important and like they had to be there. And I just read this. It was a few blocks away from where where President Obama and other world leaders were meeting. So they do this, right? They do this. They create this so that they could basically keep them away. And let's not forget what else helped make this the picture-perfect NATO summit of peace was the activists that were disappeared and abducted without warrant or charges prior to the summit. So when the veterans hurled their medals over the fence, they said, the enemy's not 7,000 miles away. The enemies are right here in the boardrooms. It's the politicians. It's the corporate executives. In which another veteran, an older one, said, "What? There is much disgrace as the veterans back in Vietnam days that did the same thing." Said retired Army First Sergeant who served 22 years and is military blogger, probably working for the government too now. If these veterans aren't proud of the service they did, then they should have never have accepted them medals in the first place because they were given a pat on the back, said they were good, right? But if you don't like it, you can just get out. So as far as what was covered, it was what I said, no rush for an exit from Afghanistan. It was all out of Afghanistan, NATO chief. And don't buy the thing about them leaving in 2013. That was just for show. NATO seeks unity on keeping the Afghan war. Says France is out, but Obama Rasmussen push for others to stay. Good for, contracts and that. Says here, NATO activates missile shield, reaches out to Russia. So Russia is going to like that a lot, as they've already grown cold recently. And I think Putin even snubbed him by not even going. NATO orders 5 new drones worth $1.7 billion. Then NATO moves to share the cost of military hardware. They'll share the cost of weapons and equipment at a time when member states face shrinking defense budget. And who's going to pay for these drones and all this stuff? Oh, Afghans, Karzai, thanks Obama for your taxpayers' money. This is GGN and I'm Darko.